Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Hobby Desk. Today we are going to paint the radar sweeps from Aeronautica Imperialis. So by radar sweeps I mean that looks very much like a radar sweep to me. Boop, 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 boop. So I'm thinking aliens right now with that noise. But as you can tell, you can see a little bit of the radar sweep there and the radar there. Rather than painting that bit green and these green like the traditional radar sweep that you get, I think it would lose something if I painted that green and had these two red, for example. So what I'm going to do is, seeing as most of the planes shoot from the front, not very much from the back, I'm going to use the back half as a defensive radar sweep. So I'm going to paint that red, I'm going to paint that green. So all you need for this project, I say all you need, is an airbrush to make it nice and smooth, or you can use regular paints, but airbrush has a bit more of a punchy radar effect, and some masking tape. And then you pick your whatever greens you would like to use. So I'm going to start off with black undercoat either side, and then a little bit of white. So when I do paint the initial green, that will pop a bit more, and then put a brighter green there. Same with the red, bit dark, bit dark, bit of white, paint the red, and then punch a brighter red there. And then we're going to fill in the details. So that should make it a bit better than just a plain old boring grey, which is fine. I mean, you know, it does its job. The fantastic pieces, you know, they're durable, they're not going to break. It's not cardboard. You know, like X-Wing, you know, you can get the plastic ones, but the basic cardboard ones, after several hundred hours of play, will get broken. Whereas this, very durable. So the speed is measured from 1 to 9, or 0 to 9 even, because some planes do stop. And you have the altitude 0 to 5. So we've got to get rid of these dials, because if we are using airbrush we might accidentally paint over it. So what I'll do is, see the back will pop off, I have a small flat bladed screwdriver, and I'll attempt to remove the rear. So nice and gentle, just work the screwdriver in there. Obviously smaller the better, and you just remove the backing. So you can see it easily pops out. There's one bit there, and keep working your way around. So for some reason, this is the Skies of Fire box, and for some reason in the box they supply 19 of these dials. Now I don't know why 19, because there's only 10 planes in the box, and 19 kind of, well, there's one disc. 19 kind of wigs me out, because why not 20, you know, or why not the correct amount? But for whatever reason, I don't know if this is standard, but in my particular box, or John's from House of Chaos, it's John's, I'm not nicking his stuff, honestly, I swear. A smaller screwdriver probably would be better, but it's, once you get one off, you can probably pop off the rest just with your fingernails. So nice and gentle, so I don't lose the disc if I can help it. So just making note what goes where. You can't really get it wrong, because that's the bit that goes in there, and the two dials in there. So remember the speed is 1 to 9, and the altitude is 1 to 5. Just can't really get it wrong. If you do get it wrong, you won't have the numbers will be faced the wrong way around. So that's all I want to do, is pop all 19, for whatever reason I have 19, out, and then I'll start with the masking tape and show you what I'm doing next. Okay, so once you have your shells, which is, as you can tell, just these bits, pop them all out. If you have 19, pop all 19 out. And put masking tape over the center line, so over that line there. So that's the back, and then you'll do the same on the front. So do that on all of them. So it doesn't have to be massively tight, and as long as it covers, masking tape's got to be that approximate width. Because I'm going to paint the edges a different colour anyway, but that's just for the reds. I do the same when we do the greens. So I'll do that on all of them now. I'll put masking tape on each half, and I'll just do the bottom half because I'm doing all one colour first. Okay, while we're waiting for the compressor to get to the right pressure, Here's our little dials all ready to go. So there's quite a few of them, as you can see, all laid out. So I'll do one at a time, and obviously I'll be spraying it away from these because the the overspray might catch them. So I put them all out of the way. But I thought it was quite impressive to see them all laid out. Like I said before, I don't understand why there's 19 in the box. Maybe there was a mistake with Games Workshop. I mean, if you can let me know in the comments below, brilliant. Because in the contents of the box, the piece of paper inside, it doesn't actually say how many dials are in the kit. But hey ho. So use your favourite black. So I'm using this particular black from Game Air by Vallejo. So just whatever black suits you. So give it a damn good shake. Even though it's an airbrush paint, it's always nice to shake it all out. And add a little bit to the bowl. And with this, you don't need a lot, so I'll check the pressure. And so I'm getting nice and gentle, nice and smooth. Excellent. So we'll start on this side and feather your way down like so. And get really heavy nearest to the actual tape itself. So just like so. So feather down, and then really heavy by the tape itself. Like so. So what I'm particularly aiming for is the handy that it's like pieces of pineapple. I'm going to about 3/4 of this nice and light, and then just a little bit really heavy. So let's say 1/3 of each of these triangles is really heavy, and another 1/3 just a light misting. Just like so. So do the same again. Nice and light, 2/3 possibly, and then 1/3 really dark. Just a bit there. So nice and light, probably 2/3, and the last little bit really dark, just like so. Rinse and repeat on all of them, and there's quite a few there, isn't there? Okay, so next use whatever white you prefer. So I like a little bit of the, once again, Model Air by Vallejo. So giving it a good shake. And with this, you just need, check, see if it's okay. Yeah. Just need a suggestion of white. What I mean by that is just a tiny little bit there. So just like that. It's not a lot because you've got the dark bits there, goes to normal, light, normal, then dark again, is the idea. So it's literally just a little hit there, not a lot. As the famous magician once said, so just a little bit in the middle on all of them. So you don't literally need anything. And this is just what I do. I mean, you don't have to do it, but I just like to make it pop just a fraction more. And of course, if you noticed already, I'm not undercoating with a rattle can, because I'm going to seal the whole thing with varnish anyway. But of course, you could always prime this before you get to this stage. I'm personally not, as you can see. And if you do prime before you mask up, you obviously don't need me to show you how to use a rattle can to primer the whole thing, because you're literally just spraying the lot. But I'm obviously personally not. I've been told before in the past, you know, why don't you prime? And I do generally on metal models, and I generally do on resin, obviously after I wash the resin. A lot of the modern GW plastics I don't, and that's just personal preference. Can if you want, not a problem. That's just me. So I'll carry on doing all 19 and come back with the next stage. Okay, next for the colour section, I like to use a dark-ish red. So this is a scarlet red, but whatever red you would like. You could always go like a bit of a corn red from GW, something like that. And then go for like more of a bloody red for the centre bit, where the white spray is. Or you like a candy apple red. Make it pop as much as you like, or as little as you like. But I like this particular colour. Giving it a shake, as per always. And I always like to give it a bit of a test as well. Right, okay, so with this, we're literally covering the whole area. So the black, the grey, and the white, covering it all. So nice, even coat, nice and light, all over. And mark it in. Smooth as you like. Good old airbrush. Quite a nice, rich red. Just like that. Okay. And then when that dries, obviously we'll be hitting, you can see where the white was previously. That section a tad brighter. So we'll do the whole thing. The whole batch. Nice and light all over. If you wanted to, you could always hit where the white is, just a little bit brighter. Doesn't really matter because it's going to have another code red in there, right? There we go. That's what it looks like at the minute. We will see. Alright, let's do the rest. Okay, so this is how they should be looking at the moment. Obviously you can make it as strong and as punchy as you want. And with that, we will add, once again, a bit of Vallejo Game Air. And this is bloody red. Blood. Alright, so it is pretty much where the white spot is. So, just double checking it. And go as light or as heavy as you want. Like that. Just blend it in. So you should have, that's a very good picture. It's a bit shiny here, isn't it? There you go. So it should be dark red, red to bright red. Just like so. Rinse and repeat. Ah, they're all sticking to each other. So just a little bit of a blend in the middle. Not too heavy, just like so. It's mainly on the white section. You don't have to do it at all, but I do like the transition. There's nothing wrong with this red though. The scarlet red I used before is a gorgeous red, so you could always stick it with that by nudging the camera. Very professional. I just like it a little bit red in the middle, just pops it just a fraction. So I will do that on all of these. And once all dry, we'll start masking it up and get ready for the green side. One of the best bits, kind of satisfying, is tearing off the tape. So hopefully you're using a fairly decent quality tape and it shouldn't leave any glue residue behind. If there is, remove it, because obviously when you spray it later on, you'll be spraying over the top of the glue. And then when the glue comes off one day, you'll have the grey underneath, or whatever colour you're priming. So far, that's what we got. Just one side. So I'm going to do that on all of these, double checking as I go. No glue residue. And it rhymes, no glue residue. It's the simple things in life, isn't it? Yep, looking good. So it is kind of satisfying. Really do like doing this bit. It's even more satisfying when I mask and tape up the other side, spray the other side green. When I take that tape off, it doesn't tear the paint off. That's pretty satisfying. Right, I will tear the tape off of all of these, and then I'll start masking up the other side. So masking over the red, exposing the grey, ready to do the exact same thing with the green. Okay, so like I said, we repeat the procedure again, this time with green. So get your favourite black and paint that and that. So in case you missed it the first time round, just test it with the black. Nice and gentle, looking good. And we just tease it on. Not too heavy. And then heavier at that point there. So nice and dark there. Tease it on. And a bit heavier. Just there. Like so. Okay, and I'll do the same with all of them. Okay, and the completely optional white dot, but as you saw previously on the red, I think it makes a bit of a difference. Just a little bit here. Just like so. A bit more central than that, I think. Boom. Just like that. Because you're going to remember the actual frame itself is going to be painted with a different colour. So if you only do the white dot on the frame, like so, that won't really work. So you need to spray it on there just a little bit, just a little hint. Okay, so get your favourite, I wouldn't say dark green, but like a neutral green. By that I mean just an ivy green, whatever green floats your boat basically. But this is what I've gone with. It is a Goblin Green. So for this particular video I'm using All Game Air by Vallejo. So this is the kind of green I'm aiming for. So we'll just lay down a fairly thin coat all over. Like we did previously, nice and thin all over, like so, and then once semi-dry we'll hit the probably main third of this again, so slightly harder, main third, like so. So when it dries you'll have a darker spot and darker spot there, and the lighter spot obviously is where we're going to go over again with a brighter green. So that's the kind of colour we're getting for. We could always hit the centre a bit brighter again if we want to, but remember, you can always add, you can't take away so easy. So that's the kind of effect we're going with. So nice and easy, nice and light. So then the dark shines through a little bit. As long as it's even, give it a second or two, always add a bit more to that third there. And like I said, when it dries you can always add a little bit more if you want to. Right, I'll continue with the rest. So next, find your most garish, almost a yellowy green. You can see that is quite bright, so put a little bit in your airbrush bowl, just a little bit, and test it. I always test it just in case. Better than on the product you're trying to do. So yeah, fairly smooth, and what you want to do, same as before, just tease it in the centre a little bit there. The brightest bit in the centre, spread it out just a little bit to make it a bit garish. You can always go over it a second time just to make it pop a bit more. But reasonably happy with that. See what it looks like when it dries, and maybe put a second coat on. Just like that, just tease it on. Just covering where the white bit would have been, and merging a little bit in with the other green. Just remember that symbol there is going to be painted over, so make sure you get a little bit of the sonar behind it. So just like that. Right, you know the drill, I'll do the rest. Okay, so this is the fun yet / scary bit, is when you tear the masking tape off and you see that you've probably destroyed all the paintwork underneath. No, it should be fine, and even if you do damage some of the raised areas, don't worry, we're painting the raised areas. So as long as you didn't press the masking tape down too hard, this should be the effect you are getting. So it's not bad, it's quite eye-catching, it's quite punchy, but what we're going to do now is fill in all the detail. So that fantastic effect is only going to be the background. So I really should stop knocking my camera. Just me being clumsy and being excited rolling up masking tape. So I'll tear all of these off later on, so I won't bore you with that on camera. And then get your favourite silver colour. So I like to go a bit dirty, a bit dark, and use a bit of Citadel Lead Belcher, because it covers really well and it's not too shiny. So this is what it looks like. I probably will put a wash over it anyway, but it covers really well, especially over your quite garish colours. So I've got my tile here, always got my tile, and get my paintbrush to a point, and then we'll start covering in these sections. So what I'm going to do is go for all of what I call the framework. So that is these bits all the way along here, and these bits, and that includes, you guessed it, the edges, these bits here. So that's what I'll do. So rather than watching me for the next few hours paint this, so I quickly go over the basics, try not to touch in the nice garish colours below, and then I'll go around them again, pick up nice and slow and tidy up the edges. So all around all these rivets, and you'll soon see even got a bit of a lisp there, starting to pop already, bringing out that background colour really well. So I'll do that, I'll carry on, and we'll throw a wash over it as well. So with the wash, I don't want to go too mad, but I just want to go over the rivets to make the rivets pop a little bit. And I'll come back after I paint all of these with the lead belcher. But remember, I use whatever silver you like. Doesn't have to be Citadel. Some other fantastic companies out there. Alright. Another optional extra is use a little bit of something like null oil from Citadel to give the rivets some definition. So all these rivets, just for the sake of time, I'm not going to paint each individual rivet. So what I'm going to do is get a little bit of this null oil here, fairly reasonable size brush, and just wash along the rivets. So it just picks up a bit of definition there. Now, like I said, you don't have to do this, and if you fancy your dials looking a bit more ancient, you You could always use a brown possibly to wash it. And if you think it's too heavy at any time, and that kind of darkness is too much, then just gently wipe away, and it'll just leave the shiny rivets behind, just like so. So put it on is obviously optional to start with, and if you want to do it, you don't have to do it really heavily. Just wash over those rivets, and it will sink into the recesses, and give it a bit more of a 3D look rather than just one standard grey. Okay, so the next thing I like to do is get a little bit of the bright green you had there, just add a tiny bit of white to it, so it's still on the same kind of scale of colour. So there's a 2 out place, so just do a couple of sonar dots just randomly. So the front is a sonar sweep, so just a couple of round dots, and they can be random, they can be as close as you like, they can be just like that, or spread out. So I'll do one here, and maybe one here. I'll just do one there, in fact. So just do a little round little dot here and there. Doesn't have to look too perfect. There can be different sizes as well if you want, for different size of enemies approaching. But just like that. I'll do another one. Just do a couple close together initially. So just do a round dot there, round dot there, maybe one nearby over here, one on its own over there or something. So fairly random, and just do them on all of them, just as random as you like. Okay, so next we're going to paint some of the symbols after we've done our little radar blips. So this symbol and the Aeronautica symbol itself, the A with the sword through it, I'm going to paint gold. So whatever gold you like, it seems to work for you, use that. I'm using this particular one, which is Retributor Armor by Citadel. I find it covers quite well, and it's a lovely looking gold. So it's quite a goldy gold, if that makes sense. So it's more of a yellow gold than an ancient bronzy looking gold. Some golds have some reds in it, things like that. So whatever gold works for you. So Vallejo do a lovely liquid gold. You have to clean that with alcohol. So what I'm using, obviously, is the same type. It's acrylic based. So I've got a tile here. I mostly use tiles, but you can use your wet palette or whatever you like to use, and just get a nice fine point. And when you have your base, you'll find it's lovely and smooth, this gold. But like most paints, it'll need 2 thin coats, purely because you're painting over quite a strong, vibrant colour at the moment. So you'll find that the green shows through just a little bit. And we'll do the same thing with the stylized A as well. So just paint the handle of the sword here. Now the arch of the A. So like I said, it's quite a strong colour you're painting over. So you'll need 2 thinner coats. So as you'll find in a minute, the red will probably shine through a little bit. So I will paint all of these bases and then go over it again. So I'll come back once it's had its second coat. Okay, so once your 2 thin coats of Retributor Armor, or whatever gold you would like, has been applied, you can see it's covering a lot better now, What I like to do is to make the rivets a bit more obvious. So like previously, I used the good old null oil, which is great. It does make those rivets stand out. I also want to age that gold a little bit, so it looks like it's been around for 1,000 years or so. So gold doesn't really rust, but it does oxidize slightly. So I'm going to put a little bit of Agrax over those rivets, just to make them stand out a little bit. So yes, even though it's a shade, I still give it a shake. And I always recommend using a tile just in case. It's better to be safe than sorry. So just over the rivets, you'll find that it'll pick up around them. So you can make it a bit more obvious if you want, just by doing that. That's what you have to do. Maybe a little bit over here, just to make the gold look the same. So it's not much of a different look at all, but it just makes those rivets stand out just a fraction. So just like so, it'll pull around the rivets, making it a bit more obvious. Just ages the gold just very slightly. Alright, I'll carry on with the rest. Okay, so now we've done the front and back symbol, and now we want to do the left and right. So we want to do the speed on the left and the altitude on the right. So here's a ball bearing in there, because I do find white scar, which I will be using, does get a bit pigmenty if it doesn't get a good shake. So I'll drop a ball bearing in there, the old shaker bearing. A bit of the white on my tile. So get it as smooth as possible, maybe thin it out slightly. Once again, 2 thin coats because the white is going over quite a dark colour. So thinning out the white slightly to make it smoother. And get a bit more on my palette. Get a nice point with the brush. Having a big batch like this is great, because by the time you finish doing the first coat on this one, on the last one even, you'll find that this one should be dry. So I'll carry on painting. And time I get to the last one, the first one should be dry. So nice and smooth. Like I said, I've watered the white down slightly, but you can use a bit of medium. Just keeping it white nice and smooth. And like I said, I put at least 2 thin coats of it on there. Alright. You don't need to see me painting all 19. I'll pause the camera there. Come back after the second coat. So there you go, guys. The white really pops with 2 thin layers of paint on it. Really shows up nicely, and you got the antique gold there, which looks lovely. So these are the bits that are supposed to be eye-catching, purely because you're supposed to be putting these dials in there and reading them clearly. So remember your speed, 0 to 9. Altitude, 0 to 5. So just get them the right way around. Easily plonk in there, they don't fall out. And the backs clip lovely in there, and it should be nice and firm click. There, there, and there. Dials hopefully still move. Look at that. Not bad, not bad. So that is the overall finished radar look for Aeronautica Imperialis basis. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I'm fairly chuffed with it. I hope you are. Please hit that like button if you are. If you didn't like it and you're clicking the dislike button, that's totally fine. Just let us know why. And please subscribe for more hobby goodness from us in the future. Thank you very much for watching, and hobby safe.